Hey, how's it going, guys? Well, this is Tom from UDS with another edition of the Quarantine Sessions, where I chat to people a lot cooler than myself in the wonderful land of lockdown. Now, my guest this week is a member of a hardcore punk band who have made huge waves in a relatively short amount of time. After forming last year, they've built a reputation for explosive live shows and politically charged lyrics. They're the most destructive force to come out of Hull since the House Martins, and it's my pleasure to welcome them into my very own virtual caravan of love. The most handsome band performing today, Robbie from Smiling Assassin. How are you doing in these strange times?
Oh, dude, I'm doing just fine, if I'm being completely honest. As you might be able to see behind me, I've got a pretty beastly setup going on. Part of my job, other than the band, is I work for a charity that does music, delivers music to young people through like a studio and stuff like that. And I'm the social media tech guy for all of that, as well as obviously our band. So basically just been getting on with that. I've actually ended up being more busy than I was before this happened.
That seems to be the way. Yeah, it's either absolutely everything, manic stations, or it's nothing at the moment. But what's the charity called?
It's the Warren Youth Project, actually. It's in Hull. Yeah, it's really cool. It's one of the best experiences I've ever had working in my working life. Yeah, we have our own music studio and record label, and it's basically trying to give young people the confidence and skills in a creative way to kind of get them into other work, whether it's in the music industry or like in general. So yeah, it's really, really cool to be a part of something like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So for the unfortunate few who might not have heard of you, in your own words, would you mind just introducing yourself and Smiling Assassin?
Yeah. So I asked George, the vocalist, a while ago for like a bio for Facebook and stuff. And he just said, we're a 4-piece, loud, thrashy punk band from Hull, which I felt like that summed it up pretty well. And I think that's sort of mirrors our music quite well, as it's just straight up, no messing about. It's just in your face. That's it.
No guff, just the meat, That's what I like to hear. And I asked you this briefly off camera, but so I hope you've had time to think about it, because it's probably the most important question I'm going to ask you today. In the effort of getting to know each other just a little bit better, we're all friends here, and I just want to know a little bit more about you. If you could be a type of sandwich, what kind of sandwich would you be?
You did ask me this before we went on camera, and I was like, oh man, I don't really know. I'm a big sandwich guy. My girlfriend calls them sandwiches. So she's always like, I'm having a sandwich. In terms of what sandwich like we would be as a band, like probably a shit sandwich. Because wait, hang on, there's thinking behind this. We're full of shit. And also, why would you want to eat a shit sandwich? So, we don't want anyone to eat us.
I suppose if you're looking at it literally, yeah. So at the time of recording, your debut album, Plight of the Millennial, is out at the end of the month, so not long away now. What can people expect from this release?
Oh, man. To be fair, like, it's thrown together so quickly. Like, you mentioned we've only been a band for a year. Go right from like the sort of beginning when I met. I mean, the other guys had known each other a while. So I've only really been on this venture properly for about 6 months, 7 months, like doing anything. We jumped straight in the studio. We wanted to do it right. We wanted to record everything properly. It's like the Millennial's a journey, man. It's a real story, I think. It goes through a lot of straight up thrash, catchy melody kind of type bits. We've got a bit of a ska party anthem halfway through. It goes into a more of a serious beat down hardcore, which is kind of my background, elements towards the end. So yeah, I would say it's a bit of a journey. And I think the main thing that George was trying to do, and mainly all of us really, because we're all from kind of, pull out a tiny violin, but broken backgrounds. We're trying to shed light on some of the issues that our generation and like I guess young people, especially where I'm working at this charity and stuff, like the issues that some of them are facing in 2020. Before this kind of came around, before like Corona and all that was around, there's other issues in the world that are kind of people are struggling with, and so it touches a lot on that without being too politically charged and all that. But there's definitely references. That's punk, in it.
That's it. You got to speak for something if you're going to be punk. So how did you find the recording process? Obviously, as you say, it was quite a quick turnaround from becoming a band to starting to play live to now you've got an album within your debut year. What was it, a rapid process writing and getting this album laid out?
Yeah, man. From my perspective, it was super quick. I mean, I didn't want to mess about. I do this for a living. Social media, graphic design, all that kind of stuff is my forte. So I knew what we wanted to do. And when I joined, they were looking for a drummer. They'd kind of given up. It's a bit of a love story how we met, actually, but I'll touch on that later. But yeah, so it was super quick. I had a friend in York, Joe Graves, who I've known him for years and years and years, and he's done some of the more recent Asking Alexandria stuff, Glamour of the Kill, quite a Yashin, a few of the big bands.
I remember Glamour of the Kill. What a great band!
Yeah, man. Like back in the day, like going 10 years ago or something, I used to play in a band called Kill the Captain, and we played with them all the time, and we shared the stage with a lot of other big bands around that era as well. So I met Joe then. And George had kind of already written a lot of the songs. I mean, I brought a few little elements into them and stuff, but and we maybe wrote one or two, I can't quite remember, in practice room and stuff. But we just got straight in the studio ourselves at the place I work. We recorded everything ourselves, that producer, and then we communicated with Joe Graves at Inner Sound Audio in York to kind of get the best stems we could for him, and then talk him through the sound. And yeah, it was literally just before New Year. I remember we finished recording the album at 10 to midnight on New Year's Eve. And so it hit midnight, which is my birthday, on New Year's Day. And we went straight to the New Adelphi Club and had a big party. And it was just the best feeling to kind of finish that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But it happened quick. There was no time to really be messing about.
That's it. Well, as you say, you are a band who don't, muck about with any of the nonsense and everything. So I suppose it's quite fitting that it was a down to business endeavor.
Yeah.
But so you say obviously that you all brought a little bit of different influence to the recording process and the writing process. What sort of influences would you say pulled to make Plight the Millennial?
Yeah, so I actually asked George, because I thought I might ask this question. So George started the band. It was his love child, and he comes from a heavy punk background. But his main influences for bands like Municipal Waste, Iron Reagan, Leftover Crack, quite deep punk, hardcore punk sort of noise, and there's other references in there. I mean, Josh is quite a dubby sort of reggae fan as well. We've got a ska tune in there, which I guess comes from him. I'm all about sort of early Sum 41, like proper hardcore, like The Ghost Inside, D's Nuts, all that kind of stuff. So I think we've kind of but like we've basically fused punk with metal and tried to kind of modernize the punk scene a little bit, instead of it being your classic politically charged old school like boomer punk or whatever. We've sort of fused it together with all our influences and shit. So yeah, I'm quite happy with the sound we've come up with, and the whole point of it is to try and breathe a bit of a fresh air into the punk scene, which I think is slowly sort of started to fade into the background as more metalcore and big other music take the stage, and especially with bands that used to be quite heavy. Bring Me the Horizon, for one, who have now gone very pop, which is
yeah,
just
they are a pop band now.
They're killing the genre, man. Like,
but yeah, I absolutely agree. And I would say that particularly in times like this, not just because of, Corona and everything, but obviously the world wasn't particularly in a great place before that either. But that is where, as much as it sucks for the real life and everything, that is the breeding ground for good punk music, because it is that counterculture sound. Like obviously in the 80s, when everything was awful, you had a massive boom of punk. So I think it rises to the occasion when society needs it, in a way.
Yeah, man. Yeah, there definitely feels like the world was in a load of shit before this happened. And I've said it to a few people, I sort of feel like, as bad as this is, as absolutely destroying for a lot of people's lives and stuff that this actually is, it could be like a benefit for a lot of people in terms of it's bringing people together. You're not hearing about all that other shit that you get in the news every week, something different, shooting here, this, that, there. And it's sort of shedding light on some of the sort of mental health side of things that people were already struggling with, but this has highlighted that people are realizing that everyone's been isolated, they're going to have mental health issues because of it. So in a way, I feel like there's positives to come out of this. And obviously, when we go back to playing gigs, that shit's going to get real. I mean, come on, like people are going to be itching to throw down in a pit. So, we're pretty psyched for that.
Absolutely. Can't wait. So speaking of gigs, obviously no one can tour at the moment, but you obviously did play quite a few shows in the short time that you've been a band. Have you got any crazy stories from playing live that you can share with the world?
Yeah, some that I probably don't want to share right now.
Whatever you can spill the beans with.
Yeah, I mean, one that sticks to mind, we got invited to one of our friend, Ian. He holds these crazy house parties every year on Halloween, and we got invited to play in his living room. So it's literally like 10 meters squared sort of living room space. We were playing where the couch would be. I'm in the corner just like, but yeah, everyone was in outfit. There was tons of people. It was like sardines in a tin in this living room. There was crowd surfing. There was pits. I think one of the coolest thing about it was his entire house. I mean, this is a guy whose coffee table is the coffin that he's going to get put in when he dies.
Excuse me? What?
Yeah, man. His coffee table in his living room is actually his own coffin. Yeah.
That's pretty metal.
Yeah, there's like 70s, 90s old Halloween horror film memorabilia like all over the house, in unopened plastic everywhere. He really outdid himself. We were pulled up into this little village, and like we were like, where's the house? And we just turned the corner, and like you couldn't miss it. It was just like booming. There was like skeletons hanging out outside, strobes in every window. And the first thing he said to me when I got in was, "You need a Jaeger." And went to his bar, pulled me a Jaeger out of this little Jaeger machine he had. And yeah, that was everybody's introduction to the house. So that was pretty mental house party, to be honest.
That sounds like quite an evening. I take it everyone survived.
Yeah, let's say that.
Just about.
I slept in the boot of my car, and the night ended up with me. It ended up with me knocking a beer over, the rest of the band causing a commotion about it. I didn't realise, and then mopping it up with a slice of pizza that I was eating. I don't remember doing that. I just got told that happened, and so I apparently didn't want to waste the beer or the pizza. So
I mean, beer dipped pizza. That's pretty much the most pop punk rock thing I've ever heard of. That's I don't know. I feel like that's a trend that could catch on. I might try that.
I can't tell you if it was any good or not. So.
Let's assume yes. But anyway, obviously, you are just about to sort of move on to the next stage of your story as Smiling Assassin with the release of the album. What's left on your band bucket list to achieve?
Oh, man, so much. We are nothing. We are just a speck in the grand scheme of things. I still think of this band as just some stupid little thing that I'm doing with some friends. It is honestly so awesome to have people like yourselves wanting us to be a part of shows like this. Honestly, dude, and people just watching the music and streaming it and stuff is actually mind-blowing. I don't think any of us expected in this short period of time to kind of get somewhere, I guess, with it. The big goals would be headline festivals. I mean, your standard stuff that, I mean, every band kind of wants to tick off their bucket list. I once said to the guys in practice, what is all this about? And it ain't about fame, and it ain't about money. It's about the friendship that we've all formed. And actually, our latest music video was a really good testament to that. I edited that, and it was just footage I've accumulated from the second we met till when we went into lockdown, and it was so cool to just watch that and be like, wow, even if no one likes it, that is really cool for us and for me to just be like, yeah, we're good friends, and it means a lot. But I said to them once in practice, I won't stop until we get on that big stage, and by that I just mean a few thousand people, all going for it, whether they like our music, whether they know the songs or whatever. They're all going for it. Everyone's in a good mood. Some sort of headline, introductory at Download Festival. That, just having that to put in your pocket for the rest of your life and to tell your kids and stuff like that, that feeling, I think, is worth treasuring, and it's a goal worth working towards. So even if we get near that, I'm happy. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, right on. Because the thing is that it's great to have these big ambitions of what you want to do, but if you don't enjoy the process and the journey as you're on it, then there's no point doing it. And so it sounds like you've got the good balance of both.
That's it, dude. Yeah, it's all about the fun. If you're not having fun, if it becomes a job, if it becomes a chore,
can it? But speaking of dreams and aspirations and whatnot, obviously, as you know, here at UDS, we don't just talk about music. We talk about video games, movies, wrestling, comic books, everything and more. So with that in mind, if you could have a Smiling Assassin song featured in anything at all, what would it be?
I have a really good answer for that. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. It's got to be, because that was someone on Facebook recently, of someone asking about albums that we were influenced by. All I had to do was just put the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater thing up there, because if you remember, you could actually, it was a CD, you could put it in a CD player, and like, I'm like, that's all I'm going with. But the amount of bands on there, all my influences came from those games. It's too hard to pick an individual game, but the soundtracks on there are just beautiful. I think it would be awesome to be on that soundtrack. The new game's coming out, isn't it? And
certainly is
the remaster. I'm super psyched for that. I said to my girlfriend as soon as it came, I was like, all right, you're not going to see me for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to a few bands who have said that, yeah, like Tony Hawk would be a great thing to be on, and that also it shaped a generation's music taste. And that is the one thing I really hope they balance out the new game with. Obviously, all the nostalgic hits and bangers from the past, but also giving some new bands a bit of a platform, because it will inspire a whole new generation to check out these bands that could become as iconic as your Goldfingers, as your Sum 41s, and whoever else made it big on those games.
Yeah, it's funny to see. It's funny to look at all the bands that are big, and they're on that. They're on that game. Like that game just did so much for so many people, for skating, for skating as a whole, but for music, I think, as a thing. I really liked that they were keeping the playlist from what it looks like and what it sounds like, because that was the first thing I looked at. I like that they're keeping it to its roots and that they're keeping it the same. I think you're right. I think they should definitely throw in some newer bands, maybe in a different mode of the game or something, or you can toggle them off, or I don't know. It'd be cool to like, spread the word of some of the newer music that's going on. But for me, it's written in time, and that, that's the soundtrack of my life.
That's it.
So I mean, I play it in the car. I just put Spotify Tony Hawk's Pro Skater playlist, 1 to 4, just running all the time, and like, there's so many bands on there that you just can't argue with it. So
yeah, I mean, I can't hear Superman by Goldfinger without wanting to grab a skateboard or a PS1 controller to play Tony Hawk. It's just so, I can't detach the two now. So soundtrack aside, what was your favorite Tony Hawk game from the past?
I mean, I played them all, and I remember Underground, just being able to get off your board. I thought that was crazy at the time, but probably literally 1 and 2, the old school, the originals. Those levels were just hella fun, and again, I'm super excited for the remaster. So it'll probably have to be the first 2.
Keeping it OG. I really can't wait. I wish it was out now, because we've literally got nothing to do in lockdown. Just
I know it was really annoying, because obviously I think they've like seen a chance and gone, oh, can we get this done? Like, because it's not coming out for a couple of months or something. But it sucks that it couldn't come out like last month or whatever.
Something to look forward to.
To be on that, I'm sure the same as any band, to be on something like that would be just mind-blowing.
Make it happen, Mr. Hawk. Anyway, so the next segment is one that is normally people either love it or they hate it, and it's definitely plagiarized whether you love it or you hate it. It's called Desert Island Discs, and obviously we haven't got 2 hours, so I'm not going to make you name tons of things. So I'll just limit it to 1 album, 1 film, and 1 luxury item stranded on a desert island. What do you take with you?
all right, so we've covered the album.
Tony Hawk soundtrack, yeah.
Soundtrack.
Yep, there we go.
And what was the other one?
Movie and luxury item.
All right, so movie, any of the Star Wars original trilogy, probably. Actually, no, I'm going to change that. Castaway, because you got to have them tips.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, by that, is your luxury item then going to be a volleyball?
Yeah, Wilson. Yeah, man. Actually, I think I've been asked this question before, and I think it'd be pretty dumb not to use your luxury item up as a boat to kind of get the hell out of there. But if you want to, if that's a bit of a cop out because the island's so good and you want to stay, maybe. I'd take Lindsay Lohan because I've heard she likes to party.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Tony Hawk's Castaway, Lindsay Lohan.
And that is the title of this video.
That's the title of our next album.
You can have that one for free. Anyway, as we live in pretty dire times at the moment, we like to advocate positivity here at UDS. And one of the ways we like to do that is through inspirational quotes. One of my favorites being, "I can't believe I ate the whole thing," because whatever you're doing in life, it works. It just works for anything. Don't question it. But with that in mind, what would be your inspirational quote to share with the world?
That's a good one, man. Yeah, I've heard you say that before, actually. I think I've watched one of your episodes or something.
Oh, no, we know my shtick.
Yeah.
It's all old.
No, it's good, man. I love it. It fits with the shark thing as well. But yeah, mine's a bit depressing for some people. I learned a hardcore lesson recently, and that is to just trust no one. And trust no motherfucker, because sooner or later down the line, everyone's in for their own best interest, whether you like it or not. Like ultimately, people want to survive. People want to. When you take everything away, that's kind of what it comes down to. And so, even some of my best friends in the past and girlfriends and things like that, I've true colours have kind of come out. And I think one of the best lessons, one of the best reminders of me to not let myself slip into getting fucked over, is to just tell myself not to trust people too much, because I'm quite a trusting person. I just give away all this stuff, and that's one hardcore lesson that I'll never forget. It's one that my mum always used to tell me. You're too generous. You do this. You give away everything. Blah blah. People take your credit. People take advantage. And I know I speak for the rest of the guys in the band when I say that we've all been through some pretty tough times and been screwed over by the system and other things, hence why the album focuses a lot on those sorts of issues and mental health. And yeah, it's a negative positive that I like to live by. It's a negative, but it makes me positive.
Well, that's
so,
it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just a case of making sure that you look out for yourself, because as you say, no one else will. Everyone just biologically is got that survival mechanic, and you've just got to make sure that you give enough time for yourself. I don't think there's anything to be too negative about self-love.
And it's not about me, look only after me. It's just about not putting that extra bit of faith into someone when you don't need to, and not relying on that person to do something that you could do yourself. Because I think that, proven that if you want something doing, you do it right, you do it yourself. So it's not 100% the ego. It's just about not putting that trust into someone.
Controlling your own destiny. I think that's something we can all agree with. But speaking of, is this a segue? Speaking of destiny, I'm going to go with it. Speaking of destiny, obviously no one can predict what's going to happen for the rest of 2020. It is a weird time to be alive, but as best as you can, what does the rest of 2020 have in store for Smiling Assassin?
So right now we're just writing. I think most musicians are writing away, trying to work on our second album, which seems stupid talking about that, seeing as the first one isn't even out. But we've really developed as a band since the first album. These were just the first lot of songs. And so we're really focused on number 2. We're kind of getting the name out there now. Once people have heard of us, giving them a real in-depth slice of Smiling Assassin, that has been developed, over the year. Because, like I say, we've literally not been a band that long, and so doing that. And yeah, we've had quite a few offers for gigs and things coming up and tours and stuff that are in the works for next year. That was always the plan. We wanted to focus on the album, get that pushed out there, do a few local gigs here and there, UK and stuff. But then next year, really focus on doing all the festivals, doing a big tour. That's where we want to go from here. We've done the music part, the social part, all the media and the online stuff is there. The gigging and the touring is where we want to kind of go next. And yeah, hopefully when this is over, just a lot more parties. I miss the guys so much. I speak to them on the phone quite a lot. But I just want to go drinking with them. I want to buy pints. I want to buy everyone a pint.
Well, hopefully we can all buy each other a pint sometime in the future. So basically 2020 is the year of laying the groundwork. 2021 is the year that you take over the world.
You said it.
There you go. So obviously, as we wrap up the interview, the one question we always ask our guests is, we are Upside Down Shark, UDS. Don't ask me why we're called Upside Down Shark. It just stuck, and we're too deep, as Sum 41 would say, to go back. With that in mind, Robbie, what would be your favorite shark? It could be real, it could be fictional, but what would be your favorite shark?
Do you remember a 90s TV cartoon called Street Sharks?
Certainly do.
Street Sharks.
I wish I had a body like that.
Yeah, man. I think I can just picture the band actually going around like roided up sharks, half man, half shark. They fight, they bite.
Maybe that's a music video crossover that I want to see in the future.
Yeah, man. They would have to be that. But I do really like the name Upside Down Shark. I mean, when I heard it, it definitely stood out to me. When you said don't ask you about it, I'm going to ask you about it.
I mean,
why? Like, where did it come from? Was it just like name generator, or is someone into sharks? Like...
There is a story. I can't remember the context around it, but basically, for the longest time, I've had a list of things that people say that out of context would make great song titles, and Upside Down Shark was just one of them. And it just is like, we need a name for this thing that we're doing. And I'm going through this list of things, and there is some nonsense on there. There is stuff like Tic Tac Pile Driver, 4-inch Fluff.
I'm just gonna like take notes.
Left-handed horse. And
we had a similar list. One of the ones that I remember for band names back in the day was Butternut Sasquatch.
There you go. Hi, I'm Tom. Welcome to Butternut Sasquatch. I can't even say it. So sorry.
Butternut Sasquatch. Yeah, man. I don't know. It has a similar ring to it. I get it though. But yeah, it's cool. It's a cool name, dude.
Oh, I appreciate it. Smiling Assassin is a great name with a great story behind it as well, though. Obviously, it's the idea, again, I suppose, that you can't really trust people and that they might stab you in the back or in the front or wherever. So it all comes back around.
Yeah, man, that was the first time I heard that name. The way George described it to me was basically a friend that stabs you in the back. They're all smiles, they're all this to your face, but really, they're just gonna fuck you over. And that was so cool to kind of hear that, being brought into the band and having just come out of a really kind of tough situation myself where I learned that lesson, and then being told that, it was just like it was meant to be. So yeah, I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful for your time, and I'm really grateful to be in a band with such cool friends, and for people to actually be listening to our music. It lots of people say it all the time, but it really, really, really means so much. Just to have 20 minutes or half an hour of your time today, dude.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine, I can assure you. But speaking of your music, where can people find Smiling Assassin online?
We're everywhere. The whole standard, box of tricks, Spotify, Facebook, I don't even have to say. We have a website, smilingassassin.co.uk. Everything you need to know is on there.
There you go. Yeah. One-stop shop. Well, Robbie, thank you so much for your time. That is all I've got. I will not waste any more of your time with stupid questions. It has been an absolute pleasure chatting to you today.
Oh, dude, thank you so much. Again, I really appreciate it. You haven't taken up any of my time. I'm busy with tons of stuff, but I've always got time for stuff like this. And anyone who's slightly interested in our band, it goes out to you. So cheers.
Awesome. Well, hopefully when everything's back to normal, we can do this again in person with maybe the entire band. That'd be really cool.
Oh, that'd be awesome. I know they'd be up for it. So yeah, we can.
And I guess left to say is thank you for watching at home. Make sure you pick up Plight of the Millennial wherever you listen to good music on the 31st of May. Hit subscribe for more interviews with all sorts of creative folk, and we shall catch you next time.